This episode is about the number 13 team on the Juggernaut Index, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles clearly have total, unqualified confidence in their new starting quarterback, Kevin Kolb. If they didn't, then the team wouldn't have dealt six-time Pro Bowler Donovan McNabb to a division rival. Under head coach Andy Reid, Philadelphia runs a West Coast scheme that demands precision in the passing game, relying on quick throws, often into traffic, hitting receivers in stride. The Eagles have developed Kolb in the system for 3 years. They know his strengths, his tendencies, and his limitations much better than anyone else. In the organization's opinion, Kolb gives the team a better chance than McNabb to win games right now. This is not a developmental year. When McNabb was traded, Kolb received a full endorsement. The fantasy community has embraced Kolb too. We're drafting him aggressively, in essentially the same spot we would have taken McNabb if he were still at the controls of Philly's offense, ADP of 78.9. It's a leap of faith pick, an expression of our belief in Reid's program and the Eagles' institutional intelligence. We didn't really see enough of Kolb last year to write a full scouting report. He delivered a pair of useful fantasy lines in his 2 starts last season, sure, but Kolb also threw 3 interceptions in the first of those games, a 26-point loss, and he faced a terrible Kansas City defense in the second. The Chiefs failed to pressure the quarterback per their usual, and Kolb picked them apart. 24 for 34, 327 yards, 2 TDs. Many other quarterbacks shredded Kansas City's D in 09. It wasn't an exclusive group. The defenses in the NFC East are much more formidable. But still, what little we've seen of Kolb has been promising from a fantasy perspective, and it's worth noting that he was remarkably accurate in his senior year at the University of Houston in 2006, completing 67.6% of his passes and throwing only 4 interceptions in 432 attempts. Back then, he was projected as a terrific fit for a West Coast playbook, and now he's in a situation that should suit his skills. This is a high-flying passing game. The Eagles' receiver core is loaded, and the offensive line is solid. If healthy, Kolb has a realistic shot to reach 4,000 passing yards in the year ahead. While it is true that 4K isn't really a special number anymore, 10 quarterbacks reached it in 2009, it would nonetheless make Kolb a serious fantasy asset. It's also a yardage threshold that McNabb has never hit. Fantasy owners don't usually compare Kolb to McNabb, however. Instead, you're all expecting him to be Aaron Rodgers, the 3-year backup who took over for a legend and immediately excelled, outperforming the star he replaced. As if that's so easy. Philadelphia fans aren't the most forgiving bunch, unlike the fantasy crowd. If Kolb's Eagles lose at home to Rodgers' Packers in Week 1, things may take an ugly turn. Michael Vick will be a small nuisance all season. He'll likely get a few Wildcat snaps, but he won't threaten Kolb's status as starter. With Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin atop the depth chart at wideout, the Eagles have one of the most exciting young receiver tandems in the league. Jackson is a burner, cartoon quick, a big play waiting to happen. He finished with 12 touchdowns last season, and 8 of them covered 50-plus yards. That's ridiculous. There was also a 48-yarder, and another one for 35. You'd never actually predict that a player will continue to score from a distance with such frequency, of course. But if you are assuming that A, Kolb won't be a disaster, and B, Jackson will get another 110-plus targets, then you'll absolutely need to rank D-Jax inside your top 10 at the position. Maclin had a terrific rookie season, 55 receptions, 762 yards, 4 touchdowns, and was a consistent performer until his plantar fasciitis became an issue late in the year. He doesn't quite have Jackson's inhuman speed, but he fits the offense well. Again, if you think Kolb is the real thing, you should draft Maclin as a fantasy starter. In early mocks, he's the number 24 receiver in terms of ADP, 67.4. The rest of Philadelphia's wideouts can be ignored on the draft day in standard leagues. Jason Avant is a potential late rounder in deep formats, and Florida rookie Riley Cooper should be on the radar for dynasty owners. Tight end Brent Selleck is coming off a 971-yard, 8-touchdown season. and he's a clear starter in any league. Because some of you care about this sort of detail here, Selleck and Cobb are tight, fast friends, roommates on the road, 2 men, 1 snuggie. That's chemistry right there. Running back LaShawn McCoy gained 945 total yards on 195 touches as a 21-year-old rookie, and he's in line for a much larger workload in his second year. He has the receiving skills that a future PPR first rounder, 40 receptions in 09, and the offseason propaganda surrounding McCoy has certainly been encouraging. He's demonstrated a nose for the end zone in college, too, crossing the goal line 36 times in 2 seasons at Pitt. There's a lot to like here. And the draft day price is reasonable. McCoy's mock draft central ADP is 34.4, so he's going a full round later than B.D. Wells, 24.2. We can't promise you a vintage Brian Westbrook season, nor will we guarantee that McCoy is this year's Ray Rice. But he's a talented all-purpose back in a dangerous offense, and Mike Bell won't challenge him for a starting role. In short yardage and goal line situations, we'll likely see more of the 225-pound Bell, or the 238-pound rookie Charles Scott, or the 250-pound vet Leonard Weaver. Philly's defense tied for 3rd in the NFL in sacks last year with 44 and finished 4th in interceptions with 25, so it was a very useful unit for fantasy purposes. In real life, however, this unit wasn't so impressive. The Eagles allowed an average of 24.2 points per game over the final 9 contests, including the playoff loss to Dallas. This team targeted defensive players with each of their first 5 picks back in April's draft, ultimately using 9 of their 13 selections to upgrade the D, and particularly the pass rush. We've ranked Philadelphia's team defense as a top 10 fantasy option. Coordinator Scott McDermott's unit does not lack talent. The best IDPs are linebacker Stuart Bradley, now 1 year removed from ACL surgery, defensive end Trent Cole, defensive back Quentin Michael, linebacker Ernie Sims, and defensive back Asante Samuel. Poor tackler, but he plays for picks. So, there it is. The Eagles dropped from 3rd to 13th in the Juggernaut Index, but you're probably more excited about them this season than you were in 2009. This team has plenty of question marks, yet also loads of potential. It's never a clock management clinic with Andy Reid, but it's often a fantasy buffet.